Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. As Executive Director of the European Border and Coast Guard Agency, in other words, Frontex, and in the presence of the Chair of the Management Board, Marco Gasperlin, in the presence of the Vice Chair of the Management Board, Ralph Goebel, in the presence of Director Michel representing the European Commission, in presence of Bernd, my deputy, and all directors, heads of unit, and most of Frontex staff. I'm very glad to welcome you. We celebrate today the 8th European Day for Border Guards, the first one since the entry into force of our new founding regulation on 6th of October 2016. This new legal framework has delivered an enhanced mandate and additional resources for the agency. But this new regulation has also provided a new name, the European Border and Coast Guard Agency. We can, however, continue to refer to the short name of Frontex, since it reflects our legacy. But the agency is like a person having a first name or a nickname and an official name, European Border and Coast Guard Agency. And this new name is meaningful. It shows the way to the future. It refers to the new reality of the European Border and Coast Guard as the sum of all national border management and Coast Guard authorities together with the agency. And the spirit and objective of our annual event perfectly embodies the fact that all together we are the European Border and Coast Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, this new mandate and underlying concept of European Border and Coast Guard have represented a key inflection point for the agency. We have embarked together onto a very intense transition period, at the end of which we must emerge stronger and more resilient to face our common security and migratory challenges at Europe's external borders. There is no other way if we want to preserve the precious acquis for millions of EU citizens who benefit every day from an area of free movement, the famous EU area of freedom, security and justice, or Schengen area. The agency is about to implement a series of important initiatives which will reinforce its operational role, develop its new role regarding the operational governance of the external borders, as well as reinforce its dimension in capacity building, interagency, and international cooperation. As our program today clearly demonstrates, we are more than ever looking into the future. Our first panel on the way forward on border management speaks by itself, but also the three topics chosen for the simultaneous debates: the integrated border management strategy, the link between internal and external security, and the Coast Guard functions, are critical to understand the future evolution of the agency. When implementing our new mandate, we must be more than ever proactive. We need to anticipate, and our annual risk analysis tells us that even if the situation at the external borders has become more manageable when compared with 2015 and 2016, the pressure remains and increases, in particular on the central Mediterranean route. Furthermore, we all know how quickly situation can change in any other region or concrete section of the EU external border due to the very volatile situation in our neighborhood. We need therefore to be ready not only for possible new mass influxes, but also we need to be ready to detect more complex security threats at the external borders, in particular, the threat of terrorism. As always, Frontex action will be guided by the principle of operational solidarity, so that we can support these member states which are most in need with additional personnel and equipment. However, this immediate and shorter term or emergency response must be accompanied by some more structural measures to build resilience in our EU border management systems. We have in our new mandate two very important new tasks in this regard. The vulnerability assessment, which will first let us develop a picture of the national capacities and be able to point to the gaps and provide recommendations to the relevant member states. We are going to make proper use of this possibility, taking especially into account the principle of shared responsibility in the management of the EU external borders. I want to assure you that these assessments and the precious data which member states are already providing will deepen our understanding of the national reality and allow us to better tailor our activities to the actual needs. I issued some days ago the first set of draft recommendations to member states, and we will work on it in the next month altogether. The operational and technical integrated border management strategy to be developed by the agency will be the other main structural measure. This strategy will be preceded by EU policy lines on integrated border management and followed up by national integrated border management strategies. We need to seize the opportunity that this new task gives us to generate some needed changes at the EU but also at national level. This shall not be a strategy that the agency or the EU will impose, but one that we want to thoroughly discuss with all stakeholders, in particular with national authorities. We need you to feel full ownership of this integrated border management strategy so that you can use it in your national context and, where required, introduce necessary adaptations. Our objective is to further align the EU border management layer with the national one, mindful of the principle of shared responsibility and the fact that member states shall retain primary responsibility for the management of their sections of the external border. We are also taking decisive steps towards strengthening the law enforcement dimension of our work, making full use of the possibilities of our new mandate when it comes to processing personal data and building closer ties with other European Union or national internal security actors. Fortunately, times are gone when it was said that this agency had nothing to do with the fight against criminal organizations or against terrorism. Today, we are sharing data with Europol on suspected foreign terrorist fighters obtained during our debriefings of migrants at the EU external borders. We are also fully involved in several of the EU operational activities based on the priorities in the fight against organized crime under the so-called EU policy cycle. We want to break the silos which too often have characterized the EU measures in the home affairs domain, and we will continue to seek closer cooperation with the national customs authorities. Border guards and customs officers are both working at the external borders, and we cannot afford to turn the back on each other when it comes to sharing risk assessment, perform border checks or maritime surveillance, or detect trafficking activities that have an impact on internal security. Coast Guard functions are also at the core of the agency's remit. Not in vain, we are now called the Coast Guard Agency. Let me emphasize, however, that EU Coast Guard is a shared brand owned by the European Fisheries Control Agency, the European Maritime Safety Agency, and Frontex, together with national services involved in coast guarding. We have jointly presented on 2nd of June in Lisbon the results of the European Union Coast Guard pilot project, and we have clearly demonstrated that when the 3 EU maritime agencies work together, we provide more support to national authorities implementing Coast Guard functions than if each one of us worked alone. Furthermore, and in other fields of activities, according to the new mandate, Frontex has the imperative to reinforce its migration management support delivered to member states. Firstly, we have the so-called migration management support teams deployed in the hotspots. As we speak, we have approximately 400 team members deployed in Italy and 600 in Greece, which also includes some national staff redeployed to the hotspot. We are discussing with Commission services, the European Asylum Support Office and Europol how to coordinate better our deployments with the national authorities and improve the standard operating procedures. Secondly, we are also redoubling efforts to link border management with return measures, in particular in the hotspots. Although we have drastically increased the number of return operations, only in 2017 we have supported or coordinated return of 6,600 returnees on 140 flights. I am convinced that we can provide more support to the member states with tailored pre-return assistance packages. We are capitalizing here on the work already done by the agency and by member states through the EU specialized return networks, focusing on identification and documentation of the irregular migrants. The internal dimension of our work is also expanding out of the EU. The international dimension of our work is also expanding out of the European Union. We are about to deploy 2 new liaison officers to Niamey, Niger, and Belgrade, Serbia, apart from the one we already have in Ankara, Turkey. We have also strengthened our contacts with some North African partners, and 2 new technical assistance projects supporting integrated border management and our African Frontex intelligence community network are in the pipeline, if I may say. The cooperation with the EU military missions EUNAVFOR Sophia and the EU civilian mission EUBAM Libya should also be mentioned here as part of the efforts on the agency to beef up its efforts towards third countries. All the activities of the agency, joint operations, fight against cross-border crime, Coast Guard functions, migration management or international dimension have relied so far on a backbone of team members, experts and technical equipment provided mainly by the member states. The added value of our operations relies heavily in the quality of the personnel and equipment deployed. We are assessing different options for procuring the necessary assets when performing Coast Guard functions. Also, here we will continue to rely on governmental assets, but we will be developing more and more the agency's own fleet of assets, such as long-term deployments of vessels with multinational crews. We will combine national assets with our own means, in particular for aerial surveillance. A fleet of patrolling cars is also under consideration. The use of framework contracts for multipurpose surveillance services delivered by fixed-wing planes or by remotely piloted aircraft with state-of-the-art equipment will become more common in the future. These services, together with the acquisition of satellite imagery in the framework of Eurosur, are best examples of innovation in our operational capabilities. We are not investing only in border surveillance equipment, but also in border checks. Thanks to the package on Schengen Information System 2 proposed by the Commission, as well as the Eurodac recast regulation, and based on the recommendations of the high-level experts group on information system and interoperability that was chaired by the Commission, the access of the agency to EU databases will be reinforced from a legal and technical perspective. We aim to have soon European Border and Coast Guard team members with mobile equipment able to provide additional operational support by directly searching or recording data in the databases. This will be done, of course, with the agreement of the competent national authority and in full compliance with the applicable data protection law. I want to use this opportunity today to also raise awareness about another area of work to which the agency will shift its focus in the coming years. I am referring to the operational support provided by the agency in the field of border checks. As you know, according to the Commission proposal, Frontex is expected to be responsible for the central unit of the European Travel Information and Authorization System, ETIAS. This central unit will assess, at first instance, all the problematic individual travel authorization applications lodged by travelers from non-EU countries which are not subject to visa requirement. And the central unit, hosted by our agency, will refer to the national units those applications which require more in-depth assessment. Just to give you some figures, we are talking about 1.2 billion people as target population of travelers from 61 countries which are currently exempted from Schengen visa obligation. The estimate for 2020 are around 40 million of travel applications per year, and the Commission has proposed to reinforce Frontex personnel with 250 additional posts to run the central unit as from 2020. Frontex tasks also include development of screening rules, audit functions, and customer support. We will work very closely with EU partner agencies, EU LISA and Europol, responsible respectively for the development and operation of the ICT system and the new watch list. To implement all these new tasks in our reinforced mandate, we need a strong organization with adequate resources. This year, in 2017, we must fill 329 new posts. So far, 116 recruitment procedures have been concluded. The rest are ongoing or will be launched shortly. Next year, we will have approximately 120 additional posts to fill. I would like to use this opportunity to make a strong appeal to all among you who feel qualified and up to the challenge to apply for a job in the agency. Furthermore, as the management board members present today know very well, the agency is also implementing some other measures which will make our organization more fit for purpose. This includes start of preparation for a new headquarters building in Warsaw. As you may know, I signed the headquarters agreement with the Polish Minister of Interior on the 9th of March 2017, and it should be ratified soon by the Polish Parliament. This seat agreement is an important step for the status of the agency in Poland. Among others, it will bring a European school, which is crucial to attract new employees and their families from all EU member states. The agency is also reinforcing its transparency and accountability mechanism towards the management board, but also towards the European Parliament and the Council, where the Executive Director is more often invited to report. Let me conclude by thanking all of you for your presence and all the support you, members of the European Border and Coast Guard community, as well as other partners, have given to us all this year. I wanted to underline that this is also your agency. We are all part of the same community. We share the same values and objectives. We want to develop and implement a European integrated border management system which contributes to uphold our internal security and migration management efforts, an integrated border management that facilitates the movement of bona fide travelers to the Schengen area, and an integrated border management that ensures reliable EU external borders in order to guarantee the EU area of freedom, security, and justice. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, let me conclude with two important announcements. First, and this might surprise you, today will be the last European Day for Border Guard. Because, secondly, we will have next year the first European Day for Border and Coast Guard. Now, I just wanted to wake you up. Enjoy European Day for Border Guard 2017. Thank you for your attention.